Good evening, everybody, and welcome to California Free Radio, live from undisclosed locations with me, Mike Netter, Scott Piotr, and Kurt English. Everyone out there, I'm especially fired up tonight, and I'm going to go into that in 1 second. But first, pay attention. If you're watching this, it's on X at Netter Mike, at taxfighter7.com. It's on LinkedIn in case you actually have a job, which means you may not live in California. We'll get to that. At Mike Netter. We are on Facebook at Mike Netter and shared in all the Rebuild California groups. And if you're outraged, which you should be after the show, you can also watch it on our YouTube channel, which you'll find under Outraged. There is a tremendous amount of material to pack into what is now an hour and 15-minute show tonight. But I want to start with an opening blast saying, first off, I'm elated and I'm excited. Not just because I'm happy to be here and I've lived another week, though that's an upside. What I'm also excited about is I went this Tuesday to a very large conservative event where Steve Hilton for governor, not an endorsement, just an observation, kicking off with over 2,000 people in Huntington Beach. What's most exciting about it, in addition to everything that I'm going to cover, which will, by the way, there'll be details on this in Netter News coming out tomorrow. If you don't get Netter News, I'll come looking for you because it is free and you do have that kind of money. But we're going to cover tomorrow in Netter News and tonight many of the high-level people that are not just endorsing Steve Hilton, but I think what's as important to me is actually paying attention to California politics. We're also going to cover tonight, which is easy material, a lot of the idiotic things that Gavin Newsom has done this week. And what's also easy material, and guys, they make it just too easy on us, a lot of the idiotic things that the press has done this week by not only what they've reported on, but what they're not reporting on, which we're going to get to. Before I go into one of my opening rants here, let me toss to Scott a little bit. And Scott, let me ask you a question, okay? What do you think? There's a lot to pick from, but I want you to pick one and only one. The most idiotic thing you think the California government has done this week?
Oh, you mean they had to have actually taken action this week?
No, or inaction, or something. Just pick something.
Oh, let's talk about judges in sanctuary states, or lack thereof.
That's a good lead into what happened in Pomona this week at the Home Depot. And I'm going to cover, let's talk about that a little bit.
I go to Home Depot a lot.
You go to Home Depot a lot. Kurt, have you ever been? Kurt's diving off the screen. Don't get away so easy, Kurt.
I'm running away, Mike. I'm running away from the liberals in California.
Well, you're going to have to go farther than that, dude. It's a big territory. Kurt, you heard about the story that happened in Home Depot this week, right? In Pomona?
Yeah, U-Hauls, Home Depots, Lowe's, illegal aliens have been hanging out for years to get hired for a day job.
Well, I was on 870 The Answer Radio this morning talking about this. Happy to say, well, not happy to say, I follow Bill Asali. It's kind of like following the banjo player, but what the heck.
But tell people who Bill Asali is, Mike. Who is
Bill Asali is a former state assembly person who is now the U.S. Attorney for the Central Region. He is a strong Republican and conservative, and he's coming after the city of Los Angeles after a lot of things, uncovering a lot of corruption. We covered that in last week's show, which again, you could see on our YouTube channel. But let me cover something which really just ticks me off that the press didn't report. I'm going to start with something that liberals don't like, which is a couple facts, okay? Here's a fact for everybody out there. And look, guys, we've all done it. We've gone to the Home Depot and we've hired day laborers. Here's some facts in America today, though. It's actually illegal from a federal point of view to hire a day laborer or anybody that is not a citizen of the United States. And by the way, gents, did you know, and you can Google this and look it up, 75% of all the day laborers out there are illegal aliens. But wait, there's more. As the press zoomed to Pomona and put a guy named Carlos on and said, hey, we're just here to raise money for our families, it came out that ICE didn't actually do the raid, the Border Patrol did. And they said, Border Patrol, why did you do that? And the Border Patrol said, look, we were after 10 people that had felony warrants in effect out for them for child molestation, DUI, drunk driving, etc., etc. Now, I got to ask you, gents, first a basic question. Scott, Kurt, you ready for this one?
Just
We're
a
ready.
basic one.
If
Inflate.
you have a felony out for you and you're in the country legally, which is kind of its own felony, would you be hanging out in the open in a Home Depot to begin with? Does that strike you as being very bright?
It doesn't matter what we think. During the Biden administration, there was no enforcement. I mean, they ignored the law and flouted
Correct.
it.
Now that they're enforcing the law, I want to make a point to everybody and really heed this. Both the state of California, from a backhanded manner, and the government, you are liable if you hire somebody as a contractor and they are not a citizen of the United States. Now, poor little California is going to say, oh, well, you know, we're protesting against this, and we, the government of California, want to protect these illegal aliens or immigrants. Let me tell you something. The passing of AB 5, which keeps your musician friends from playing in a pub on a Friday night as an independent contractor, also affects you as a homeowner. Because in effect, when you hire that day laborer at your home, AB 5 makes you liable for workman's comp and taxes and other things, and that person can sue you. So be aware, state of
Well,
California.
Mike, let me jump in on that. It's even worse than what you just described.
Well, that's
Because
not hard to
if you
believe.
bring
Kurt,
that-
jump in.
But if you bring that illegal alien to your house, they can fake an injury and get a sleazy ambulance chasing Democrat contributing plaintiff's lawyer to sue you in bad faith, plus the workers' comp problem, plus you're liable to withhold their Social Security taxes and their payroll taxes.
Absolutely. There's a whole myriad of huge issues.
Hey, wait
So-
a minute. So what, Gavin Newsom hasn't been enforcing the law anyway. What makes you think he's going to start now?
Well, here's the problem. The state of California, crosshairs to Kurt's point, there's a lot of attorneys out there, many of them sleazy, unlike Kurt, who's a fine, upstanding barrister, I might add, are going to come after you and you will be liable under AB 5. But let me tell you something from a political point of view that really sticks in my craw. So we have immediately, there's a protest. The protesters gather and the news is interviewing poor Juan, and even Fox News didn't put the facts on. It's not really legal to hire an illegal alien as a day laborer. But while they're marching around talking about that, here's a trivia question for everybody out there. And again, my secret source is Google. So I asked Google the simple question, how many day laborers are actually in California? And the total is about 40,000. Now, while that seems like a big number, though it doesn't fill up the Rams stadium, it's 0.2% of California's workforce. So again, small groups of people doing illegal activity are getting a large voice, while we, the citizens of California, paying our taxes, doing what we should do, are getting no voice at all. But I think that's about to change. You know, an interesting metaphor, gents, I want to ask you something. Kurt, Scott, you're in my age range. You ready for this one?
Oh, no, you're older, Mike.
I might be. Do you remember all the protests that took place when the police, when the vice squads used to raid the prostitutes and Johns, where the Johns were committing a crime and the prostitutes are committing a crime, and all the people came out in protest about that. Do you remember that?
No.
No, right,
No.
because it never took place. My point is, we accepted the fact that both sides were committing a crime and that the police were doing their job. So we've got to, get to the fact here that if you commit any crime, frankly, if you hire somebody, and I know we've all done it, or if you're in the country illegally, and especially if you've committed a felony, don't do it. No crime, be it shoplifting, be it hiring someone you shouldn't hire, be it not paying your taxes, should be acceptable to Californians. But that wave is about to change. And I'll tell you why I think it's going to be about to change. I'm going to look at I can't even remember all these names right now. So I'm going to go ahead and look right now at something very interesting here. At the Steve Hilton announcement for governor this week, even I was impressed. And I'm in the inside track of a lot of campaigns. I know Chad Bianco, Steve Hilton, know the guys that run it. But what's fascinating to me is the people from outside California. They came out endorsing Hilton, but they came either on stage or beamed in. I want to name off these names, and I want you guys to tell me if you know them. Charlie Kirk, have you heard of him?
Yes.
Sure.
Big name. Came out up front, paying attention to California, committing resources to it. The next name is a guy that isn't very politically active, but it's the first time he didn't even do anything for us in the recall. And see if you remember this name. You guys ready?
Go for it.
John Voight.
The actor.
Actor.
Yes. He's older than you.
Yes, he is older than me. In fact, the running joke between me and Orrin was we could never get a hold of him. He talked about the recall, does a great part in the Reagan movie. He came out. Vivek, right? I can't pronounce his last name.
Ramaswamy.
Thank you for being my enunciation police. Came out live video, running for governor of Ohio, involved in politics in California. Kevin Kiley, who we have a video we're going to attempt to play in a few minutes, came out and gave an amazing speech. If you haven't watched Gloria Romero talk, Gloria Romero is the former president of the state Senate who was a Democrat. And she has converted, seen the light. I feel like we've taken somebody from Satan worshiper to Christianity. Pastor Jack Hibbs, Tony Strickland, Chef Andrew Gruel, Kira Davis, and more big names are coming out, paying attention both within and outside California politics. There is hope coming along because people realize, and you know what's also funny, guys? Some people who I know, who I don't talk politics with, which I know is shocking to most of you, we saw a couple photos on Facebook about them going, hey, and I'm thinking, man, I could have sworn you were liberal. They appeared at this group of 2,000 people. People are the large group of people with no voice are starting to come out.
So wait a second. You're saying all this happened to the Steve Hilton announcement
On Tuesday. Well, I was actually blown away. Yes, I had
out on the beach. He set up his little stage right there next to the pier.
right by the pier. I had special access. I'll leave it at that. We took us for
there were 2,000 people that showed up for that event, and all these big people spoke at it.
Yep.
Wow, that's an impressive kickoff by a
amazing kickoff. Again, it's going to be, go to my X feed. I've had video of it. Steve live streamed it. It's got 50, 60,000 views. It was very impressive. And at Netter Mike, it's going to be in my newsletter tomorrow. To answer your question, who's running Hilton's campaign? I will tell you something, Christine. It's not the usual swampers, okay? And you can send me a DM on @Netter Mike, and I'll communicate with you about it. And we all
not one of the. So basically, what you're saying is that the people that showed up weren't the typical political hacks. They were people that are invested in California, want to see something happen.
Well, correct. In other words, her question on our feed here, again, you could shoot us comments and we see them here on Restream. The people running the campaign aren't the typical people that lose in California. That, not to drop a name, ran Steve Garvey's campaign. I don't want to slam any consultants out there. Okay, I do. Dan, do you have a way to light me up? I feel like I'm dimming.
Slime them any more than they already do on their own, based on their
Right.
performance. Hey,
Right.
look, I've run 10 big races the last 10 years, and I've lost every one, but every time I'm getting a little closer. But it's still a big L, right?
Exactly. So things are changing. Yes, everyone out there, pray and hope for change. Things are looking up. It's going to take a lot to turn around. I've got a myriad of subjects I want to talk about tonight. One of the biggest subjects I also want to talk about is Newsom's hyperbole of what he's not telling the general public. On my X feed this morning, I got really angry last night. Again,
Hyperbole,
talking about,
is the
yes,
definition of hyperbole is saying one thing and doing something else? Because that's all Newsom does, right?
the hyperbole is Newsom is bragging. We've moved into the fourth largest economy in the world.
Yeah,
Okay.
worldwide.
Okay, now let me explain why that's a little bit of garbage. And
Besides the fact that he's raised prices on everything and it's
well,
caused us to bump up because of that.
Kenneth Schaap, I'm probably mispronouncing his name, put out a good article today in Center Square. We featured some of that. I put out my own thing on it. Here's what's interesting, everybody out there. Do you ever feel for the fourth largest economy moving up to the fifth, it's not working out well for you? Let me explain something. That's gross product, not net product. When it comes to per capita, meaning how it spreads throughout the state, California ranks 11th out of the 50 states in the union, and we're the biggest. In other words, our prices are so high, it ups our GNP. I also would like to add the fact that Japan is having a horrible 24 months and they slip backwards. So it's kind of like, Kurt, I'm going to pick on the Dodgers, right? The Padres could pull ahead of the Dodgers, maybe by winning 2 out of 4 games, but if the Dodgers lose 1 out of 4, the Padres slip ahead. And that's a good metaphor for what's happening in California. That's why California, in spite of having the fourth highest GNP in the world with 40 million people, has the 11th highest net per individual. We have the highest poverty rate in the United States, and more people are struggling than ever before. This is the hyperbole that is going to bankrupt California, and Gavin Newsom is just waiting out his time to get the hell out, and we have a chance to change things. Scott, I'm going to toss to you before I have Kurt comment on a couple things as I do a little bit of sharing here.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of the debate that Gavin Newsom had with DeSantis. DeSantis would quote facts to Gavin, and Gavin would just ignore them and say what he wanted to say anyway. The hyperbole of the fourth best economy. Basically, you're saying Japan did crappy, therefore we moved up, but we didn't really improve. They just got lousier. And when it comes to quality of life, California sucks. I mean, like you said, poverty level is the highest, the homeless level is the highest. All of those things that crime rates, cost of living, sales tax, all the other taxes are incredibly high in California, making people want to move out. And that brings me to the point I wanted to talk about. Again, it was Kenneth Schrupp in the Center Square brought it up. Our wonderful governor and legislature have mandated that no gas cars can be sold in this state by the year 2035. And so they've got some intermediate steps that come to that. And one of them is coming this next model year, which starts in September. So in the model year for the automobiles, it starts in September 2026. They have to sell 35% of their cars have to be EVs. They could be hybrid, but they have to be plug-in hybrids, not regular hybrids. So either a plug-in or a plug-in hybrid will qualify. But there are only in 2020, the first quarter of this year, 20.8% EVs. So that means that because they haven't reached that 35%, they're either going to tag on a $20,000 tax on every car sold over once they get beyond the 35%, or if they don't make the 35%. So they have to sell, they're going to tax just crazy, or they'll just not sell the gas cars in California in order for the EVs to be a higher percentage, and then they don't get taxed. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not paying $20,000 more for a car just to go into Gavin's pocket. That's ridiculous. I need a gas car. I haul a bunch of stuff around. An EV won't work for me, even if I wanted to pay for one. It just doesn't work. And the technology is not there for a lot of people. Besides the fact, look, last summer, we had the state begging people with EVs not to plug in unless you really need it because they're short on electricity. And he wants more EVs. What an idiot. We had an initiative passed here in California, 2014, that says here's $7 billion, $3.5 billion of which you can go and buy more water storage. What does he do? We don't have a single drop of extra storage. He spent $250 million of that money and tore down 4 electric producing dams. So not only do we have less water storage, we have less electricity for the grid. And they want us to buy 35. I mean, face it, what's going to happen is either they're going to try and give away these electric vehicles, which means the price of gas vehicles will go up, but not by 20,000 in order to get that number up there so they can sell gas cars, or they're not going to sell them in the state. And we're going to either go out of state to buy the gas car that we want, or you're going to just hang on to your used car longer, and the price of used cars is going to go up.
But
It's
Scott,
ridiculous.
look at the bright side. Cars will be so expensive that California's can become the first largest economy because each car will cost 200 grand.
I'm wondering if we could call our city a sanctuary city, and all gasoline cars can get sanctuary here automatically.
Now, Scott, you may raise an important point. I think we should have sanctuary cities for gun laws, for federal income tax, state income tax. If sanctuary cities are legal, if cities get to pick and choose the laws they follow, well, let's have conservative cities be sanctuaries for all the things we don't like.
Well, unfortunately, Kurt, they're not. And that's part of the problem we have, right? Is that the state of California continues to pass stuff which isn't legal. And to what I opened the show with, they don't enforce stuff that they just don't feel like doing. Apparently, they don't. California doesn't think they're part of the union. They think they're part of communist China, apparently. Right, Kurt?
Well, communist California is what their plan is, but Mike, they're doing it, with a lot of awful stuff. You may have heard about all the ballot security complaints in California and in blue states. Do you know who Judicial Watch is? Tom Fitton's group
Very well.
has filed a lawsuit saying that Republicans lost at least 2 congressional seats in California in November 2024 because votes were counted after Election Day in violation of federal law.
And that's a dicey one, isn't it? Because the problem we have again, and I don't want to go deep in that, that is a real dicey one because I actually looked that up on Fenton's video, Kurt, and federal law is a little bit vague when it comes to that because I actually looked at that, and federal law, unfortunately, because the architects of the Constitution didn't expect there to be voting machines and this much corruption. So the communists running our state, or the leftists, pretty much have taken advantage of every loophole that they can. I will add to the fact it's entirely wrong and certainly a violation of the intent of the law that we count ballots that are not even received by Election Day. And I'd like somebody out there to argue with me on that. How you can mail your ballot or postmark it on election day and mail it in when you see how the results are going, and you can fake a postmark, and they accept ones without postmark. It can be received, 5 to 7 days afterwards, and they elect to count it.
Hey, you get these, post machines that post in your, let's say, your office. Pitney Bowes was the famous one for it, and they just run through. They're the ones that set the date. It's not like it's automatically set or the USPS sets it. You could sit there and decide. So let's explain it to people that don't understand. Okay, your candidate loses by 100 votes. You're a Democrat. Your candidate was ahead on all of the pre-election day counting, but on election day, all the Republicans came out and voted, and now your candidate's behind by 100 votes. And now you sit there and go, okay, look at all the numbers, because they count how many ballots they haven't counted. So, let's see, there's 2,000 votes left to count. We figure that, 40% of those are going to be Democrat and 60% are going to be Republican. So that means I need to get, pick a number, 1,300 votes in order to win and overcome this deficit. So let's make a margin of 1,400 or 1,500 just to make it easy. And they go out and manufacture 1,500 votes. There's no way to prevent it. They postmark it after the fact. It's like the fact that they're allowed to count ballots that come in after Election Day is just a way for them to be able to have the registrar count and find out how many ballots they need to cheat by. It's ridiculous. There's no safeguard whatsoever. It's not like the USPS is sacrosanct on their postmarks. And if you can get it in by that, it's not like you're paying the property taxes and we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt and not charge you a fine as long as it's postmarked by that date and it comes in 7 days later. But in the case of elections, as long as it's postmarked on Tuesday, on Election Day, it can come into the registrar 7 days later. So you fake the date, throw it in the mail. You don't even have to throw it in a ballot box or, voting box, because they know those come in after Election Day because they empty them on Election Day. You just throw it in your mailbox, for crying out loud. How hard is it to cheat and create ballots? They're experts at it.
And it affects a lot of the, I think this is a good time as any, Scott, if you have the ability to play that Kevin Kiley video. Kevin Kiley had a great point on stage at Steve Hilton that when I tweeted it out, and we saw that we've been under Democratic rule for really the last 16 years, and how is it working out for us? And he gave a great speech, I thought, on the congressional floor. So I'm going to toss to you to share that video real quick and go fix some lighting.
All right, we'll get started. You got to tell me if this is where you want to hear it.
The state of California is currently under federal investigation. In particular, the Newsom administration under federal investigation.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
Now, the New York Times recently ran a story on this topic, headlined, "Trump Takes Aim at California." The question was, why is the administration targeting California? They called it a multi-pronged assault on California that has begun in earnest. But that's actually the wrong question, to ask why the administration is targeting California. The appropriate question is, why is California so flagrantly violating federal law in so many different ways? In the article, the junior senator in our state, Adam Schiff, is quoted as saying that the president has a, quote, partisan vendetta against California. Senator Schiff says that he is continuing to weaponize.
Yeah, that's Adam Schiff for brains. Hey, which part of this is a 21-minute video? We're not playing the whole thing. Which part?
No. Let's just get to. Can you go to the 10 points here real quick? Or just a couple.
Yeah, all I get is now I get commercials.
Okay, take it off the air.
All right.
Here's the point when Kiley's saying, and he hammers this point over and over again. He hammered it on stage when he spoke about Steve Hilton. He hammers it when he speaks to the Congress. California, under 16 years, and probably plus, but let's roll with the 16 years, of Democratic rule isn't working out. Kurt, I want to toss to you for 1 second, okay? Give us a couple samples of stories just this week that show it's not working out.
Well, as a Los Angeles City Schools graduate, thank God I went there before the liberals took over. 57% of LA Unified School District students can't read, and 67% can't do math at grade level. But Californians know that the education system is broken. In a recent poll, by a 6-to-1 margin, Californians believe our schools have gotten worse in recent years.
That's
Well,
an
that's a
interesting
very
reason
low
why
bar,
we're doing the School Choice Act, as a matter of fact.
Boy, don't we need that, Mike.
Yep, that'll be coming
Think about
soon.
the benefits to our state. If parents have that choice ticket and they can go to a Catholic school, a Christian school, a charter school, whatever, a magnet school, and vote with their dollars, because that will make the education industrial complex more responsive to the customer, which is the parent.
Kurt, we have a limited amount of time on the show. Instead of calling the industrial complex, can we just call them unions?
Well, but there's also non-union liberal thugs that want to indoctrinate our kids, castrate our kids, have men play in women's sports, and teach them that America is a bad, evil country. So we have those people too.
There's one example. You know, the one I found interesting that you did, how Saks Fifth Avenue is closing down in Union Square, aren't they?
In San Francisco.
And
Yeah.
this is very personal to me also, because as a USC student, we used
Is that
to
where you
go to
bought the
Cal and
shirt?
Stanford weekenders, and we would have our pep rally in Union Square when it was a upscale shopping area in San Francisco where successful people actually wanted to go, unlike today where it's full of needles and feces and urine and drugged down homeless people.
Yeah, but Ghirardelli's chocolate has already closed down, haven't they?
Oh, no. I used to love to have dinner there when I would visit. No. Boy, liberals are damaging everything we enjoy in California.
Well, and San Francisco is a microcosm of it, as I saw in a tweet today. I don't want to keep dropping Hilton's name, but he said the spotlight's on San Francisco as really, this used to be a beacon of the West Coast. California today, when you think of it, you still think of the Golden Gate Bridge. And now when you think of San Francisco, which is just, when you look out, it's a gorgeous city. And I want to shift from all the way up in San Francisco and add San Diego. San Diego, one of my hometowns where I don't live today. And Burbank, California used to be absolutely not a bad place. Thank you, Carlos. A lot of cities. Fabulous downtown Burbank from Rowan and Martin. San Diego, when you go to downtown San Diego, where Horton Plaza used to be a marvelous shopping center.
Yes.
Yes,
I used to love going there when it was new.
It is now literally a cave for the homeless because the city has lost control of it. And I mean very kind. Some of California's most marvelous cities, Los Angeles included, have just turned into expletive-deleted holes. It's not working out for us. Continue with more stories, Kurt. Hit us with a few more.
Well, when we would go to KABC, Mike and Scott, I would have to dodge the homeless people that were drugged out in the intersections and drive my car around them because red lights didn't mean anything to them.
Whoa. Hold on. You're supposed to dodge them? Damn it.
Oh, was that a mistake?
I don't know, apparently. Go.
All
Yes.
right. So,
by the way, I want to give a chime out to Christine. Well, hold on. Sorry to cut you off. Christine, you're absolutely right. And I want to quote this. Dan, you could put it up in the crawl. Progressive politics in San Francisco has shown you what you never knew you didn't want from government. That is absolutely classic. I'm going to say that again because that is a perfect classic. Progressive policies in San Francisco have shown you what you never knew you didn't want from government. Yes, indeed, they've taken us to whole new levels of we didn't even know you could screw it up that bad. Back to you, Kurt. Give us a few more here.
Mike, you got to post that on the Netter News and on at Netter Mike, your X feed.
I will.
That's a great line.
I will be happy
All
to
right,
steal it from Christine.
So California Democrats haven't stolen enough of your money. They want to steal some more with tax increases. They've got a number of tax increase bills, property tax. They want to have an increased payroll tax, a vacancy tax. So if you have a empty home or business, they want to charge you for that. A social media tax, a higher income tax. They want to tack another 0.5% on the U.S. leading state income tax rate. And they want to have a mileage tax of 6 to 9 cents a mile. It's like the Beatles song, guys, the tax man.
I love it, the vacancy tax. So here you are, you're a building owner, and because of the way the city's been maintained, your tenants are leaving, you can't get new tenants. So you're broke, you've got no income, you're paying all these mortgage, you're paying your mortgage still because the bank doesn't care. And all of a sudden the city's going to say, well, we don't like the fact that your building's empty and it looks ugly and it causes more vacancies, so we're going to charge you a tax. Like, go ahead and charge me whatever you want. I can't pay any of it anyway because of you morons. I mean, these guys have no concept on how the economy actually works for at least the people that are involved in the economy.
And
the point is that they keep taxing us. They're going to tax all the productive people into leaving.
Well, hold on. Worse than that, and I want to cover this. Kurt, you brought up an important story that I kind of missed tonight. Mileage tax. There are 5 major tax hikes. That's 5. See my hand? 5. In the legislature. I'm going to retweet this in 1 second here.
Actually, 6.
Well, I'm going to go with 5, but I'll go with 6. It's hard to keep track here, okay? 1, they're actually a mileage tax. They're going to charge you for driving. That doesn't mean they're getting rid of the gas tax. Property tax. What they're trying to do is screw with Prop 13 because they want to give the government 5% of the value of your home when it's sold. And by the way, that won't matter if you sell it underwater, and that mansion tax hasn't worked out for LA. They've got another hike on the payroll tax, which you'll be paying everywhere you go. So that's going to get struggling small businesses for $1 billion a year. Scott, you said it. I can't say it with a straight face. The vacancy tax.
It's so ridiculous. Social media tax. What are they going to do? You're going to sit there and every time you post on Facebook or X, you're going to get hit with a tax?
No, well, just like you have the telephone tax where there's the state and federal taxes, they're going to tax your social media accounts so that all social media that's now free is going to have to start charging you a subscription and paying the California government.
I was just saying, how do they know when I'm on a social media tax unless they're looking at my internet feed? That's crazy. I mean, Cox, or whoever, Spectrum, whoever your provider is for your internet, they are already paying a tax off of what they collect from us every month. It's for providing internet to low-income people or rural communities. They have, it's called an access tax or something like that. And then there's just I need more money tax that the state's grabbing. So of your $100 a month or whatever it is you're paying for your internet access on your cable, probably 10% of that is going to various agencies in the form of taxes already. It's crazy. Okay, so
don't worry about it. You're not going to have any money left because they also raise the income tax.
If you're lucky enough to still have a car, that mileage tax, they're going to have to be invasive and put a GPS in your car in order to be able to charge you that mileage tax. So they're going to know everywhere you go.
So it's going to be
$900. We won't tell anybody.
Another 100 to basically Gavin Newsom's goal here is to raise taxes on California about $200 billion a year. So again, gentlemen, it just may be better to go over to Mexico, go hang out at a Home Depot when you come back across the border and declare yourself in sanctuary from California and let the state give you everything for free. Hey, we might as well get our money back.
Hey, I got a better idea. Go to Home Depot here, pretend you're an illegal alien, and they'll ship you back to Mexico for free. You get your trip paid for.
There you go.
Hello, 45 equals 47. What a great handle there. Kurt.
All right, we
hit us.
talked about the oil refinery shutting down. That's going to increase everybody's gas tax more than everything you just discussed.
Yeah, 20. Well, they're trying to get us into EV cars that they don't have electricity for, right? But the capacity now with Chevron closing one and now Valero closing theirs, it's 20% less, and so we're going to have to be importing gas.
Oh no, gentlemen, you couldn't be more far off in this issue because Gavin Newsom has come up with the solution. Didn't you hear about this? He plans on taking over the refineries and letting the state of California run them because it worked out so well. For example, when the state has been producing tiny houses for the homeless to live in. Wait, we haven't built any. No, never mind. Let me use another example. When the state of California, for example, is going to produce insulin to drive the cost down over 2 years. Wait, we haven't produced any. Okay, maybe owning the refineries by the state of California is a bad idea. Because California, outside of taking our money, you actually have to help me. Christine, maybe you can chime in or somebody watching the show. What exactly is the state of California good at that benefits the average person in the state of California? Somebody, please give me an example.
Everybody
Stealing
knows
our money.
the DMV is an epitome of efficiency, right?
Don't
Try and
even
get a
get
real
me
ID.
started. You got to get a real
ID.
ID. Don't even get me started on the DMV. Everybody has to have a real ID to fly by May. I uploaded my birth certificate to upgrade my license to a real ID. They said that's an insurance document. I uploaded it again. They said you need your social security number on it and a signature.
No.
New babies don't sign birth certificates and don't have social security numbers. You idiots. You DMV
Kurt,
idiots.
I'm gonna take issue with that, right? Because Elon Musk kind of started that. Let's face it, when the DMV saw your birth certificate, they just didn't believe you were that old and still alive.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me the DMV is not efficient?
Well, remember what Reagan said with the efficiency of the post office and the compassion of the DMV or the IRS.
And that's how we're getting our medical care now too. Yes, because they're so efficient. Let's let them do more. So when are we moving on to California? I need to put it in my calendar.
Well, I think what we need to do
They
here.
raised the gas tax 65 cents a gallon.
Here's the point though we need to be aware of, okay? And I've said this for a number of years before most of you right now are online checking U-Haul, looking for real estate in Montana or trying to figure out how cheap you can live in Alabama or Arkansas for. Let me add something to this. It is very important, and that's why we say every week, spread the word on this show. Spread the word on conservatives, and we can't just speak to ourselves. We have 4,000, 5,000, I don't know how many people a week that I get to, that I speak to, 1 million views a week, fantastic. But what we need to get to is the people that don't give a damn, because let me tell you something. If we now don't pay attention to what's happening in California, it's kind of like the Wuhan virus in that lab. Progressive politics is getting out. You cap it for a while, you isolate it. God bless, we've got Donald Trump. Yeah, I'm the 7 scariest words. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And
You're right, Christine.
And what's even scarier in California is I'm in the government and I'm not going to help at all. And I really don't give a damn what you think. Paraphrasing Ronald Reagan, if you will. Because the challenge that California, not even Democratic, it's beyond that, the left coast politics where the media in California has become complicit by what they don't report. And by the way, that includes my friends at Fox News. I'll call you out too. You don't report the entire story, like on Pomona Home Depot. If we don't continue to quash and contain and get rid of that virus that we call extreme left coast liberalism, it's going to spread to every state in the union, and there will be nowhere to go. And I give you this word of warning as I'm going to, Scott, give us another example beside even the gas powered cars, which they're trying to ban coming soon. Many of the things that we talk about all the time. Talk about getting building permits, for example, and what you do in your day job.
So I'm an architect, and I do a lot of construction and construction management as well. And so we're pulling building permits all the time. And it takes months, like 6 to 8 months, to get a building permit in a lot of jurisdictions for a major remodel on a home. We're not talking about building a hospital or a school or some high-rise building. We're talking about a residential remodel, and it takes 8 months to get a building permit. That's ridiculous. Here we are, licensed professionals, and it takes them longer to check our work than for us to actually do the work. And what do? Well, the first thing they do when you come in there is say, "Hey, we don't take any liability for our checks. We're not your quality assurance. We're just checking for code." And so then what is it? What good are they? They need to get out of that business. If you got a licensed architect or engineer, you should not need to plan check it. Just issue a permit and perform construction inspections.
Scott, that's why you have liability insurance.
So look at, yeah, exactly. And because of that, we as professionals are going to take a whole lot more care in what goes out in our product and our drawings than the city or the county will ever do in a plan check. So in LA, where they've lost 12 to 14,000 homes, 14,000 structures almost, and guess how many permits they've issued? Now it's been since the fires happened. What did they happen? The end of February, so it's been 60 days. How many permits
January 6th or 7th. 100
Okay,
days.
so it's been over 100 days. How many permits have they issued?
12 now.
4. Oh, has it gone up to 12? Last week it was
I think it's
4.
gone up to 12 now.
4 permits. That's
But
ridiculous.
Scott, there's 13,000 homes that were burned down, and there's 270,000 claims for loss by burned homes with FEMA. 20 to 1 fraud.
So and they wonder why Doge has so much to do, and why they're fighting it. Okay, tell me, why are the Democrats fighting Doge? I mean, what is it about corruption, waste?
Because they're engaged in a criminal racketeering conspiracy to steal from us.
Exactly. We're taking away their vehicle. I was reading this morning where all of these non-governmental entities had been fed as much as $4 trillion during the Biden administration, most of which came as a result of their so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which was not, it was an Inflation Increasing Act. But they gave a lot of contracts to NGOs, and they were all progressive, pro-Democrat NGOs that are now turning around and buying protesters to go firebomb a Tesla, dealership near you. So they are using the system to fund their progressive agenda because, the real population doesn't want that crap. We don't want men competing in women's sports. We don't want schools keeping secrets about gender changes as though you could do such a thing from parents. Or instead of dealing with merit and meritocracy, dealing with race and DEI. Anti-Semitism run rampant. Allowing college students to come here and protest against us. Why? Why would we do that? Or this stupid cap and trade program. We'll come back to this, but when you're ready, I mean, climate change or the things that are going under the name of climate change is destroying the state. So you got to look at it. Are they using climate change because they really believe in it and it's just a byproduct that they're destroying the state? Or do they want to destroy the state and they're using climate change to do it? And the list is
I think
long.
it's a little of both, but I want to go back because I see some comments here. The solution is, we tend to rant and rave and doom and gloom, but there is hope. To Scott's point, the problem, and I've said this for years, is voter turnout. And the problem also is the left or the Democrats, just like the communists in China everywhere, bank on us not paying attention. And all of us are guilty of that. We have a great tool in direct democracy, which are initiatives and things which go on the ballot. We have great tools with upcoming elections. We actually have a great tool, which is why they're trying to tax it out of business, even in social media. Where again, I want to do a quick pitch because I did this earlier. I did this on a thing I was on earlier this week. When you go to Rebuild California, go there. We have a group per county. And by the way, if you live in Laguna Hills, Newport Beach, any town, Redlands, if you live in any town anywhere, okay? All you have to do is go to Facebook or LinkedIn or anywhere and key in the name of your town on social media because it's free. And you'll find there's a lot of groups, and I want to use an example. I want to use one I got tonight that are for your town. Join them. Don't join them and rant and rave like we do. Leave that up to the professionals. But join these groups and start establishing relationships. Guys, I want to tell you a funny story, okay? A funny story that just happened today, which I found quite fascinating. So I hear all the time, California, it's so liberal, and oh my God, and blah, 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 blah. And you would listen to the press, and there's a big, people are up in arms over criminals getting arrested at Home Depot, blah, 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 blah. So I'm on an app, and I'm not going to tell my area, called Nextdoor, and you're all familiar with that, right?
That's
And
Robert hang out.
Yep, and Nextdoor normally doesn't discuss politics. I've lost my cat. I've lost my dog. I found a cat. I found a dog. Sooner or later, they get together. I have a plumbing problem. Does anybody know a plumber? That's the typical conversation on Nextdoor. What's fascinating tonight is they're starting these political things to slip in. And I watch them because it's kind of a barometer of what I'm talking about, which is local politics that you can get in Facebook groups and Nextdoor groups. Yes?
We are getting to the funny part, right?
Yes, we're getting to the funny part.
Just checking.
Okay. So on Nextdoor, somebody mentioned the raids at Home Depot and that they saw the Border Patrol in the area and somebody should alert everybody about it because it's so horrible. It looked like a virtual gang tackle. These two people, which were defending or the illegal immigrants, were gang tackled on Nextdoor by about 50 to 1 by people saying, good, go get them. I'm glad to see them. Tell me where they are so I can direct them to where there's more illegal immigrants. The funny part was really simple, that the average person which is afraid to speak up on Nextdoor, get them engaged. It's not funny, haha. It's just funny, interesting, Scott and Kurt, that people are really sick to your point of this stuff. What you can do, what we can do, is gently push the causes out using even social media if you don't want to go on the air like us. Just push the message out. There's a hell of a lot of expletive deleted wrong in California, and just put the message out. There are ways to fix it. Kurt, hit us with a couple more stories here.
Well, Mike, you talked earlier about the sad news of Saks Fifth Avenue going from only scheduling appointments and closing their doors to now closing the whole store in Union Square. But in Woodland Hills, the San Fernando Valley, which used to be a really nice place when I was a kid, LAPD has arrested a homeless robbery crew that committed at least 16 burglaries, stole 7 cars over a 2-month period in the San Fernando Valley. Now, mind you, this is the home of the Jackson 5 family, expensive homes south of Ventura Boulevard that are now the topic of, or the target of home invasion robberies regularly. This is a failure of Democrat rule in California. And then Newsom, who didn't stop any of this crime, announced $200,000 in rewards for unsolved crimes in Hillsborough, La Mesa, Lemoore, and Petaluma. But if Newsom had done his job, if Democrats had enforced the law, they wouldn't need to offer rewards because the crimes wouldn't have happened to begin with.
But some of those were unsolved.
Scott, can I stop you? Sorry to stop you for 1 second here, but I want to go over this again real slowly. A homeless robbery crew ripped off a buttload of goods over how long?
2 months in the San Fernando Valley.
I guess my
It
question
used to be the
is
conservative
everybody
part of
out
LA.
there, we haven't caught them, but they are such bad criminals. They ripped off hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff, and they're still homeless. There's something wrong with that story to begin with. I mean, it just strikes you as, guys, even our crooks can be so bad the government doesn't allow them to be caught. That just strikes
But
me.
Mike, even if they stole hundreds of thousands of dollars, rents are so high in California they can't afford to rent a place.
Evidently not. Look, hey, the state paid $24 billion for the homeless, and we still don't know where it went. But we have more homeless than we've ever had before. The state of California. Wow.
30 billion on homeless, and the problem gets worse because, to everybody's point here, okay, everybody's point, to your point, California is incredibly corrupt. And people like Bill Asali, we're winning the battle slowly, Carlos, as grid of corruption is taken off, because at least Biden's out and Fed's Trump state, and we are slowly winning. And at the top, we are winning, and the bottom from the grassroots, yes, in social media and other areas, Christine, we are slowly winning. And Mary, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm glad so many people, is my point, are 110% on board with us. We're just not getting the word out all the time. Kurt, hit us with a couple more stories. We're going to go a little bit.
Well, here's a new one. Steve Hilton is talking about when Trump opened up the water in January. Gavin Newsom has shut down some of the water from the state system to reduce the water available to our Central Valley farmers. Typical Democrat, just destroy everything you can get your hands on. Then there are more boys and girls sports stories in California.
Those are a couple good stories.
The Redlands School District had a meeting, and hundreds of parents showed up to protest banning biological males from participating in girls' sports, and the board voted 3-2 to ban men in girls' sports. So a little bit of sanity, but they didn't do that.
Yeah, hold on, I want to interrupt you a little bit.
Go ahead.
Everybody needs to understand. The state law requires every school district to allow an athlete to participate in the sport based on the gender that he identifies as. So in other words, the state requires a school district to allow boys to compete in girls sports. So when Redlands goes and adopts a policy banning biological males from women's sports, they're going against state law, and our buddy Attorney General Rob Bonta is going to jump all over them on complying.
Yeah, but Trump requires it, and so they should sue in federal court and demand an adjudication of those conflicting laws. No problem.
Yeah, well, and no, Trump doesn't ban it. Trump basically says you can't get federal money if you do it. And so if
everybody gets federal money, so it's an effective
right.
ban.
So Redlands goes, hey, unless you, Mr. State of California, Gavin Newsom, are going to make up that extra money that we're going to lose, we're going to say, screw you, California, on the rule, because we want our federal money. And if more and more people do that, Newsom will be left in a corner.
But Scott, to your point, the Lucia Mar Unified School District in Arroyo Grande, San Luis Obispo County, has the opposite view. They want boys to play in girls' sports and show up in women's locker rooms. And a girl testified A girl testified in front of the school board, and the liberal, pervert, castrating, child castrating, supporting adults didn't care what she said when she said she was humiliated. Her and her other girl athletes changing in front of a boy who was watching them in the girls' locker room. And the board
Right.
member just told her to please wrap it up. Please wrap it up. We don't
she's
care
all-
about you.
She's all of 17, and she was traumatized, and she was sharing that trauma in front of the school board and choking back tears while she's doing it. And the board president had the gall to sit there and say, "Wrap it up. You're done." It's like, oh yeah,
Scott,
thank you, Miss.
I have a message to everyone watching. Sue and sue and sue these people, not just the district, not just the teacher who tries to castrate your kid, but sue everybody personally. Sue them personally in federal court for civil rights violations. Because under 42 USC 1983 and other federal civil rights statutes passed to protect blacks in the 60s, the government cannot pay their legal fees or the judgments against them. So these people are gambling the outcome of this court case with their entire net worth.
Right,
we
because
have to fight
held
harder.
equally
These people are evil. They're not just wrong. And we need to sue them, and we need to refuse to comply, and we need to drag them through the mud. This is a
Mike,
fight. It's time
Mike,
to
I'm
fight.
shocked. We have an attorney recommending that we sue. I'm shocked. But you're right.
And sue and sue and sue, not just once.
Conservatives tend not to do that. Liberals are the ones that tend to do it. And we need to play that on the same playing field. We need to play their game. I agree. And until they pay that personal price, they're going to keep doing it. Did you see that the father of 7, the pro-life advocate who had the DOJ come in their SWAT uniforms at 6 a.m. And arrest him, who was later released, and Trump actually pardoned any pending charges against this pro-life guy. He was accused of pushing or blocking access to a clinic. Of course, I think the clinic access law is unconstitutional on its face, because
Yes.
they shouldn't be separated out. And why do you lose your free speech rights just because it's in front of an abortion clinic? So here's a guy, he was accused of doing something. He was found innocent by state attorney generals who either refused to press charges or lost in court. But the feds decided to take him out. Anyway, he's following up with like a $4.3 million lawsuit against the DOJ. He's not dropping it. He's going after their butts, and he wants to go after them personally, and he wants to see them thrown in jail, just like you suggested. And until that happens, you're going to keep getting the abuse of the system.
Well, I think the Trump DOJ should settle with him, but only with respect to the DOJ, and let him keep suing the individuals.
That'd be smart. In fact, that would help fund his lawsuit against the individuals. It would work great. Win-win.
And they should do that with everybody. The liberals used to do that. They would collude with their friends, and they would sue the government, and then they would enter into consent decrees to stop the police from doing things and essentially do things they could never get passed by Congress.
That's still done today. It's interesting how many of the lawsuits which are even brought, which you think are for our side, are brought by the other side. And then they find, somebody to oppose it so they can try to kick it to a higher court to get changes. But before we go too deep in this, okay, because much of this is about things that the average person can't do, I want to dwell on a couple things that the average person can do, especially in the next 14 to 16 months. Because yes, correct, Christine, and everyone out there, you might say the state is more red, and indeed it is. And we like to paint things in red and blue, gentlemen. But the reality is, it's not red and blue. It's just common sense at this point.
Or good and evil.
I mean, yeah, it's just, you're right. It's good versus evil. I mean, it's hit the point of ridiculousness because, again, as I open the show, and I know we're going to take a little overtime here, but let's start putting a bow on some of these subjects. Let's just simply say this. They've taken a little bit of rope and gone too far. a little bit of rope and gone too far. We say a little bit of crime, it's okay. Johnny shoplifted a little bit, it's okay. And this was the days of our youth, let's get real. And then Johnny stole a little bit more, and that's okay. And then along came the 80s and the 90s, and we go, maybe shouldn't have been smoking pot. We're throwing you in jail for 10 years. Maybe it swung too far. But then we started to go, it's okay. Well, today, it's not okay. And if you want to know how California struck back, look at 36. It's not okay to steal $950 worth of goods. It's not okay. It's not okay, my friends, to be an illegal alien running around this country or the state of California, not only receive mine, Scott's and Kurt's and all yours tax money for benefits. It's not okay to commit a crime, and then people will come out to defend you just because they don't know what's going on. That's small groups of people having a large voice. We need. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say, you're talking about the small voices and everything else. We've got these judges that are making decisions when they shouldn't be making decisions. They're basically telling the executive branch. I mean, this is a national thing, right? Telling the executive branch what they can and can't do, or how they need to do their job, and the judiciary is not allowed to do that. They're out of their lane. They shouldn't be doing it. You can't impeach the judge from a practical standpoint. You should just fire his butt, get rid of his office, and Congress can actually do that. But that's another issue. Kurt, tell us about what's going on with Trump sidestepping the judge's order and.
The judge ordered that the Homeland Security Department couldn't deport illegal aliens, which the president obviously has the authority to do under Article 2 of the Constitution and the Alien Act of 1798, which the Supreme Court has said is not subject to judicial review because it's clearly an executive power. So he just had the DOD deport them instead of the Department of Homeland Security because the judge's order only applied to the Department of Homeland Security. Now, what I would do as Trump is to declare the executive branch is a co-equal branch, and with a legal brief, say that we declare in the executive branch that your order is unconstitutional, and because we're a co-equal branch, we get to do that. Because remember, in Marbury versus Madison in 1803, the Federalist Court usurped for itself the power to review the constitutionality of statutes because they were mad because Jefferson had gutted the judiciary and gotten rid of the district and circuit Federalist judges.
Yeah, but that's only
so
after
the Supreme Court usurped that power, and the executive needs to take it back.
No, I agree. They're a co-equal branch, and there's no judicial review in the Constitution. The Supreme Court does not have that power spelled out in the Constitution. They've just kind of taken it. And you're right. The executive branch could sit there and say, well, we don't think what you said is constitutional, and we're not going to do that. And just not do it.
And Scott, in 1802, the Jefferson administration, the first Democrat president, by the way, got the Congress to reorganize the judiciary so they could fire a number of the Federalist judges they didn't like. Trump and the Republican Congress need to do that now.
Adams had done like Biden and filled up the judiciary with a bunch of his Federalists. And so Jefferson just fired them all rather than impeach them. And we had to do the same thing.
But back to 2025 here, as we're going to put out tomorrow on Netter News, a quick pitch. California is catching on. I realize, Kurt, you were just a little kid in 1806 and don't remember it well. But
1802. But you were a teenager in 1802.
I probably was. But you could see that Gavin Newsom is sinking as he leaves a trail of destruction behind. The judges you gentlemen talk about, many of them are picked because we have been paying attention until recently. We're going to come down to the end here. Scott, give us your closing blast.
And my closing blast again is on climate change. There's a good article by Joe Kotkin in Real Clear Investigations. It is a lengthy article. Whenever I use the word climate change, I like to use the climate change hoax, because that's what it is. It's a hoax. It's not based on science. It's based on what can they do to control people. And if you believe the planet's blowing up, then okay, let's control it. But the reality of it is they're lying, and they're trying to get you to do things you don't want to do otherwise. And climate change is the vehicle for them to destroy California and turn it into a socialist state, which they hope to do for the entire country. So it's something that I'd like to, as a show, we'll come back and forth again and again on different aspects of climate change. But climate change it's insidious, and the things that we're going to get nailed with mostly are things like we already talked about. We're going to lose our gas-powered cars, and they're going to make it so expensive for us to drive a gas-powered car that, as they raise taxes on gas 65 cents a gallon every year, and then all of a sudden it's just going to be a lot cheaper for us to buy an electric car or not have a car. You're going to have one of these Waymo cars drive you around. They're not saying you can't own a car. They're saying you got to own this kind of car. You got to have to cook on this kind of stove. You have to use this kind of furnace, and you have to use this kind of hot water heater in your home. And
Why not? Right, and they don't supply solutions to anything, do they? There's no mass transit. They haven't accomplished a thing.
Right. Nobody can use mass transit in California. It does not work. Period.
It hardly exists. In fact, it's interesting, and one came out there, and I hate to jump in on you, but another good one we ought to cover in a whole separate show. By the way, for all of you that like to take a train to LAX, you can't, because there is no train to LAX, which strikes me.
That would make too much sense, because everybody
never been able to figure out why they haven't got it done. Kurt, give us what you think is the most important story this week. And
two things. One is a sports thing. As everyone knows, including Mike and Scott, I am a lifelong fan of the Los Angeles sports teams. And the Los Angeles Kings are up 2-0 against the Edmonton Oilers in the first round of the NHL playoffs. And I am looking forward to watching Game 3 with my son as a family event tomorrow night when the Kings go to Edmonton to try to take a 3-0 lead. The Dodgers ticket prices have doubled this year because they're the super team. The Rams Stadium at SoFi will host the Super Bowl in January of 2027, and the 49ers Stadium will host the Super Bowl next January. And the Los Angeles Lakers are in the playoffs as well. So as a Los Angeles sports fan, I'm looking forward to a good year. And Nick Nixon, the Kings announcer for 44 years, is retiring. Godspeed, Nick.
Well,
now,
thanks.
You guys
Kurt,
may
that's
be aware
good. It's too bad none of us.
The legislature is spending $1.1 billion on a capital annex, but they have 1,000 NDAs. So the contractors can't talk about it. And they're going to have hallways where they avoid the press, and the cost is already doubled. So, Scott, you're an architect. What's going on with that failed real estate project?
Oh, it was ill-conceived in the first place. If anybody's ever visited the old office building, you had 5 floors going into the old three floors of the Capitol building. So it's just very awkward design, and they insisted on continuing the original poor design. That's why it's so expensive.
Well, it's interesting. We'll actually should cover that in another show, because we'll cover a show on California budget. Because it's not only that the project, which was in the dark, approved for $1 billion, that nobody exactly knows what's going on with it. Actually, Zavada covered that. It's even once they get it built, it's going to cost a lot of money to maintain that new building, which is an ongoing expense, which I guess they're going to be paying for out of our gas tax, so the Democrats can have better headquarters. Gentlemen, as every week we fill up the show, and for everybody watching this, thank you for doing it. Again, we're on YouTube at Outrage, spread the show. We're on LinkedIn under my real name, Mike Netter, on Facebook under the Rebuild California groups. Join your community, look for new ones, and on X at Netter Mike, at TaxSpider7. And go to Netter News, because there's even a couple stories we didn't get to today, and we're going to try to next week. But I want to leave you with this. All is not lost, far from it. Because the left, the Democrats, the softies, whatever you want to call them, have reached such a height of new stupidity, they have nowhere to go but down. And it's up to you to help to pull them to a new low so we, California, can reach the new high. Name of our group, we are California Free Radio. We're damn proud of it. Again, Mary, you can find me on Facebook. You can find Rebuild California on Facebook. Subscribe to Netter News. Pay attention to these two guys. Do everything you can. Because if you don't do something every day, one little thing to put that brick back up in the wall, which used to be the proud community of California, they're going to continue to tear it down. And it's up to us, the people of California, to establish the Golden State and make it golden again. It's your damn
And Mike,
state.
Mike, I want to tell Mary and Carlos and Christine and everybody who's watching, subscribe to the Netter News. It's a great weekly summary of what's going on in California. I look for it and I read it every week. And subscribe or follow Mike Netter's X feed at nettermike.com and on x.com.
Yeah. Hey, we're California centric. We're California Free Radio. We're behind the blue curtain, bringing freedom to everybody in California.
And we're tearing the curtain down, baby. And look behind it. It's not the wizard. It's Gavin Newsom. And we'll be back next week to send him off in a hot air balloon. Thank you.
Just
and
like
good night.
just like Jesus tore the curtain down in the temple.
There you go. Thank you and good night. God bless. We will see you next Thursday at 6:30, and we've got guests lined up soon. Dan, take us away.